Welcome to Meet the Court. I'm your host, Jawad Johnson. Meet the Court is brought to you as a public service by the Superior Court of New Jersey in Atlantic and Cape May County, as well as the Cape May Technical High School, to better inform you on the workings of the court and the role of the judiciary in our communities. Today we'll be discussing expungements, a legal mechanism that allows individuals to reset their record after criminal convictions. I am going to turn today to our guest and frequent contributor, Assistant Trial Court Administrator Jill Houck. Jill, welcome back and thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
So, Jill, I'm going to get right into this topic with you. Before your role as the Assistant Trial Court Administrator, you were the Criminal Division Manager in Atlantic and Cape May County. So, you've seen the expungement process firsthand, am I correct?
Correct,
All right.
yes. Through all the law changes over the years.
Okay, and we're going to get into some of those law changes and the way the process works, but could you tell the viewers at home, what is an expungement exactly?
An expungement is a legal process that someone goes through where they can have their criminal record shielded from public view. Their criminal record isn't erased, but it's redacted and it cannot be seen by employers, mortgage companies, colleges, because if you have a criminal record, you pretty much have to disclose it no matter how long ago it was. Every time you apply for a job, apply for a loan, apply for housing, apply to go to school. So it can be very detrimental.
Okay, so this is a restorative process that allows individuals to basically take the mistakes of the past, or not erase them, but set them to the side and start their lives anew. So as far as the public goes, how is the public protected in the ways that having a criminal record for folks established? How are they protected and how does it help the public?
Well, it helps the public because 95% of people that are convicted of a crime end up back in society. And would we rather have them, have stable housing and a job and go to college, or would we rather them not be able to get a job because of their criminal record and then have to revert to a life of crime? So it helps the public.
So what we're talking about is really pulling people back into society, back into norms, and allowing them to move on with their lives.
Yes.
So, Jill, are there any crimes or criminal violations that would be prevented from being expunged? Or are there any crimes that can't be expunged?
Yes, crimes that you would expect or that you would hope could not be expunged, like murder, sexual offenses, arson, robbery, your violent type offenses. If you harm a child, those cannot be expunged. And also you have to have a minimal criminal record. I mean, if someone has a lot of convictions, they won't be able to get an expungement.
So you're talking about mid-level to lower level
Yes.
offenses.
Non-violent offenses.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's a question. I'm thinking about getting an expungement. Do I need an attorney to do that?
You don't need to have an attorney. You can do it on your own. There is a packet that you can fill out that's online and do the paperwork yourself. The court does help you fill it out.
So I can seek out assistance from court staff, maybe an ombudsperson or someone
Yes.
like that can
Yes.
help me fill out the paperwork. How about seminars? Are there any seminars to help individuals with
We
this?
have frequent seminars. I just had one on Tuesday. But where we go out in the community and people pre-register to see if they're eligible for an expungement, and we gather up their records and then we walk them through the process, help them fill out the paperwork, waive the filing fee, file the petition, and walk them through the steps.
So you said that it allows for the record to be set aside and hidden from view from most organizations. Are there any organizations that have access to it, even in light of an expungement?
If someone's applying for a job with law enforcement, corrections, or with us, with the judiciary, then expunged records must be disclosed. Or if someone ends up back in trouble again, the court can view their expunged records to determine things like what would an appropriate sentence be, or where should they be classified at a jail or prison.
Okay. So if an individual is looking to apply for a job that has, say, the public trust, that is something where an expungement would be revealed, or if they were seeking out the court after they're charged with a new offense. Certainly also maybe adoptions or something like that would be a place where criminal records that were expunged could be taken a look at. Would you say that the expungement process really helps people get their lives back on track?
Yes, definitely. Because if you just imagine the worst thing you've ever done, maybe you really embarrassed yourself or hurt somebody you love, just imagine having to bring up that incident every single time you have a job interview. Like, oh, by the way, this is, 10 years ago, this is what I did. So, an expungement allows the person to move on and not have to keep reliving that every single time they try to move on in their life.
So, about how many expungements would you say are done per year? Are there any statistics on that?
Yes, we have greatly increased our number of expungements. 3 years ago, we had about 600, and we're already well over 1,100 for this year.
So that's a lot of lives that have been changed and affected in this type of way. What would you say would be, if someone is considering expungement, what advice would you give them to get the process started and to really move themselves forward with it?
Definitely do research. There's a lot of research online. South Jersey Legal Services has a very nice website with lots of information. Make sure you're eligible. Don't, waste your time and money, going through the process if you're clearly not eligible. So you would research to find out if you're eligible, and then, do research to make sure you do the paperwork correctly in the process.
Now, do all criminal offenses have to be expunged at one time?
Usually, yes. Usually they all get expunged at once. It's kind of like an all or nothing process.
And are municipal offenses also brought into that type of expungement?
Yes, municipal offenses can be expunged as well.
Okay. So when we return, we are going to introduce a person who experienced the process of expungement and talk to that individual about the process and the effect on its life. This is Meet the Court. I'm your host, Jawad Johnson, and we'll be back in a moment.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Welcome back to Meet the Court. I'm your host, Jawad Johnson, and today we're discussing expungements and its effect on the lives of individuals who have sought the process. Today, we are fortunate to have an individual who went through the expungement process and is going to share their experience. Now, to protect their identity, we have provided them a pseudonym, and we're not going to show their face on camera to protect their privacy, but we are going to turn to our guest, Claire. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Claire, I'm going to ask you, how did we get here? Meaning, how did this all start? How did the offenses start? And how did you go towards the expungement?
Well, I got the charge back in '98, being this selfish and, didn't care. Well, I did care, but thought I was being slick. I was working and collecting stamps and money at the same time. So after I received the charge, I thought my life would end from there. So when I got through and clear, I was charged with theft by deception, with 5 years probation, with the fines of restitution. I began that. I was hired at the time for the city, but they didn't redo my thing, so I was clear with that. I wanted to do other things, but every time I went to apply, that came up. Was never ashamed of it because I already accept what I have done and went on. So now my process is to continue on until someone to give me a chance. So I went on and applied in the casino, and there they give you second chances. So I worked for the casino, got tired of that, did that for a couple of years, then went to medical school. Then when it was time for me to get hired in the medical doctor's office, there occurred again, the same thing, couldn't get hired. So I just kept on striving and looking and finding something that would be suitable for me. I knew with my ability and my skills and my education, background, things, that I can do anything, but the only thing was holding me back was my charges.
And so a mistake you made 20 years ago
Yes.
was holding you back from work and opportunity in the present day. And so that's when you took matters into your own hands.
Yes.
And you went for the expungement.
Well, there was flyers that was in my church, and I went to the first one I had in 2016. And when I got there, I got the news that mine wasn't able to. So there again, the door slammed in my face. So there was this one young lady who, said that, she would keep me in mind the next time one come up. And Lord behold, 2018, I get a phone call and said that you've been on my mind, and this is from the court. You've been on my mind, and I kept your application, and I was true to my word. We having another one. Come by and see. I think you're eligible this time. I don't know what happened last time, but you are definitely eligible. So I took the faith, got up, and let her run all my information, and she said, yes, you're eligible. So we had it. It was on the 18th of October of 2018. Went through the procedure, sat there, listened through the whole seminar, and then at the end, I got the opportunity to actually do the application, fill it out, and knew right there. I just knew walking out that door at that time that yes, this is it. I am really going to be clear. So I was excited. So January 22nd, 2019, I got the call, I got the letter stating that my stuff was expunged. And from there, it's been like miracle. I mean, everything is coming my way. I have 4 jobs now.
So I want to get into that with you. But I want to say that is just a fascinating story, and that is great, testament, not just to faith and trying to keep yourself moving forward, but to the system and it working, someone reaching out to you and trying to make sure that you're guided in the right path and they're on the right through the process. So that is really, really great. So let's talk about your life now. You say you have 4 jobs?
4 jobs.
4 jobs.
4 jobs.
All right, so you're working hard. So tell us just what other effects that just clearing your record has had for you.
It let me see that I tell people all the time, I will be a testimony to you. I went out and did it. Don't be afraid of the system. Don't be afraid to go and tell them, because they know everything anyway. So just go and do it. I know there were some other charges that wasn't able to drop, if they have done, but I made a promise to myself. They will never see me in the court again unless I'm passing by saying hi. So for the people out there, I just say to them, just go. I mean, because there are people out there that really care and they really help. And the system really does work. So.
You talked about obstacles and some of the, temporary setbacks that you faced. If somebody else out there was facing those setbacks, what advice would you have for them?
I would say go to the court on Superior, the Superior Court in Atlantic City or Mays Landing and start the procedure. That's the only way you'll know if you just have to go face it. Don't be afraid. And if you got questions, there are people there. The staff is wonderful. They help you. They go over and above because that's what they did for me. Don't even know me from a can of paint, but they did, and I appreciate them.
So with your newfound clearing, with your newfound jobs, you got a lot of work you got going on. You got newfound things. Is there any other effects besides the work that you feel? Is it more relaxed feeling for you?
It's a different feeling. I feel like a regular person. Not saying that I wasn't. I just felt that load that's not over me. Getting to say, well, I can't hire you because of your record. You're a good candidate for the job. and we can't hire you because of that. And once you get that release, then, but now I can go in proudly and, you know, fill out any application and have no worries and just happy. Just happy.
And you're contributing a lot to society and to the public now. You've got your hands in 4 different places. Just talk about, just generally, what you think expungement means for our society and the ability to do that.
It's definitely a second chance. If you think your life is over or completely done, don't think that way. It's not, because that expungement will, like they say, it won't take everything away. I mean, take it away like hidden, but it will prevent the people who you're going to get hired to look beyond that. They'll see that you're clean straight, and then you'll feel better as a person. You'll feel better as a person in society now. You can lift your head up and be able to go ahead and live now. Just live your life.
So, Claire, we're going to go in a moment to a break. I hope you can stay with us for the next segment.
Sure can.
All right, we're going to bring back Assistant Trial Court Administrator Jill Houck. We're going to just talk about how staff, because you mentioned staff being helpful, so we're going to talk about the interaction of staff, what staff is expected to do, and get your thoughts on just the way that New Jersey works with individuals looking for expungements. So we'll do that on the other side of the break. This is Meet the Court. I'm your host, Jawad Johnson. We're coming up on a break, but we'll be back with our guests Claire and Jill Houck after this message.
Opiates has taken everything and everyone I've ever loved away from me. Everything.
I blew my ankle out and I got prescribed pain pills by my doctor.
If making my story public is gonna help somebody, I'm all for it. I just wish I would have had a warning.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
Welcome back to Meet the Court. I'm your host, Jawad Johnson, and we've been discussing the expungement process with our guests, Jill Houck, and our special guest, Claire. So I'm going to turn back to you, Jill. We heard Claire in the last segment talk about just the interaction with court staff. What is expected of court staff when they interact with the public about expungements?
Well, I'm a division manager, so I'm a supervisor of many employees. And my expectation of all staff is superior quality customer service and access and fairness for everyone. So everyone that walks through the door has to get respect, treated with dignity, kindness. We go the extra mile for everyone.
Claire, was that your experience? Did you feel the staff went the extra mile for you?
Absolutely. For them not to know me and not to judge me, and just just come and, help me and by step, I will never forget it. And like I said, I always talk about, the people and how the staff was and how they, from the moment you walk in the door until you leave, how they treat you. And it's just something that it should be with all cases, and I just want them to know I appreciate it.
Claire, let's just go back to that day where you walked into the courthouse for the first time to file the expungement. Your heart was probably racing, wasn't it? Pounding,
but still had faith because I was determined. I just felt as though all the other doors were shut on me. This was going to be my opportunity to clear everything, and I did it. I didn't give up. I just wouldn't give up this time, and they wouldn't let me because everything that I asked, it was, answered back, and they helped me step by step from the time I left.
Joe, what's the secret to good customer service? Because clearly folks like Claire walk in, their hearts are pounding, the emotions are high, they don't know what's going to happen next. And so what do you encourage staff to do when they encounter individuals like that?
I just encourage staff to treat everybody as if they were talking to a member of their own family. I mean, I've certainly had members of my own family have to go to a courthouse for various reasons, so how do I want them to be treated when they go to court? So that's how I treat people, and I try to model the way as a, division manager, supervisor, so when people see me interact with the public, I'm always interacting with them in a respectful manner.
So Claire, we're glad that, this didn't happen this way, but if the situation had been reversed, if you had walked in and it had been snarky or cold, what type of effect do you think that would have had on your ability to move through this process?
It wouldn't have been good, but I wouldn't have gave up. I still would have stayed and stuck around because there was going to be someone there to help me. That means if I have to go even higher, I was going to determine to do it because I wanted free. I wanted to be free from this charge. I wanted to be, complete.
So Claire, this wouldn't happen in Atlantic or Cape May County or even in the state of New Jersey, because we know that the customer service that we provide in the court system is something that we focus on. But if there was an individual from another area that experienced a discouraging encounter with someone who was court staff that had a bad day, how would you tell them to recover from that experience and to soldier on like you said you would?
I would tell them I met two people there, and I would give them the information. I would give that person's name, information, and let them call them and tell them what experience they had, and they would take it from there.
Jill, how much advice can court staff give? Can they give legal advice in this process?
We cannot give legal advice. We can give legal assistance. So we cannot, tell people you're definitely eligible, your expungement's going to be granted. We can just say, you appear to be eligible. This is the process that you have to go through in order to complete the expungement process.
Okay. And when they go through that process, do they go in front of a judge? Is there a judge component to this, or does the judge just sign the order to expunge?
If the prosecutor consents to the expungement, the judge signs off on it. The judge does not impose his or her own, judgment on an expungement. If the prosecutor's office consents to it, then the judge signs it. If the prosecutor's office objects to it, and the person still feels that they are eligible for an expungement, then there can be a formal hearing. But it's normally that it's just, goes through.
Claire, if in your situation there wasn't a prosecutor objection, am I correct?
No.
If there had been a prosecutor objection and you had to go through a more lengthy process, how would you have internalized? I know you said you would have soldiered on. I just want your thought process of how you would have moved forward through that objection.
I would have proceeded on with the procedure, even going face to face to meet the judge, just to let him know where I stand and where I've been and what's been going on in my life, and how I would find out what is the next step for me to do, or what else that I had to do more or get more educated to get the expunge. I would just kept on going until it was completed.
I think it's important, and I'm glad your situation didn't require that extra effort, but I think it's important to really get an understanding from someone who's been through this, that if there's someone now, headed in this direction and they want to go through the process themselves, if they face some barriers, to know that this is how you would have handled it and this is how you would tackle it, because I think that that's what lends to success. Jill, at your expungement seminars, because you said you put on seminars, what is it that you all talk about? What type of information are you passing out? How does it look?
We provide information on what the eligibility guidelines are, as well as the process. We usually have a pre-registration process where someone can find out beforehand if they're eligible or not, or if they appear to be eligible or not, and then we'll print their records and assist them with filling out the paperwork. So I originally met Claire back in 2016, and at the first expungement seminar that I did in Atlantic City, and she was not eligible at that time, and I felt horrible telling her that she was not eligible, because she had not even had a parking ticket since this incident happened in the 80s, and it was like so long ago. And I said, I think the law is going to change in a couple of years. And I'm like, I think that you might be eligible then. So the law changed on October 1st, 2018, and I remembered her. I actually would always talk about her at all the expungement seminars I did, not by name. I wouldn't say her name. Mm-hmm. But I would just say, how, it was so unfortunate that she wasn't eligible. And I was like, I think I think you're good to go this time. I think you'll be, I wasn't 100% sure because it was a brand new law and it hasn't, been tapped much yet. But, I believed my interpretation was that she would be eligible under the new law, and she was.
So does the new law make it a little bit easier for people to have their records expunged?
Yes, and at that October 2018 seminar that Claire referenced, we had, I believe, about 4 or 5 individuals who were not eligible until that change in the law. They were not eligible. I followed up with them and asked them to come to the seminar.
Claire, take me back. You got that phone call, and what was your reaction when you hung up the phone?
I said, I hurry up and called my boyfriend and said, oh my God, it's just another miracle. It's another step towards me getting my life straight. And I said, just for her to even consider me was enough. I mean, 2 years later, to even think or have that consideration for me, I still have the recording on my old phone that when she called me, I kept it. I did. That's just how excited I am. So yes, she really helped me, make my life go forward. And I just can't thank her enough. I just can't thank the system enough. I just really can't.
Claire, we've got a few minutes left. I want to just let you and Jill just talk for a second. Jill, Claire just said some really nice things about the system and the process. How does that make you feel? Tell Claire.
It's very personally gratifying. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I thank you. I really do.
You're welcome. Happy to help.
I think that the best part of this story is that an individual who made a mistake, who has been perfect since that mistake, has gotten an opportunity to really move on and when put the past behind them. They come to our show and they're very happy to share their story with us, but it's a story and a teachable moment for others. So Claire, I really appreciate you being with us here on today's show. And Jill, I really appreciate the effort that you and your staff exhibit every single day to help the lives of the individuals in Atlantic and Cape May County and the state more largely. This is Meet the Court. I'm your host, Jawad Johnson. This has been our show on expungements, and we are very happy to present this part for our audience. Thanks for tuning in, and goodbye for now.